My name is Karen Jones. I am a retired OBGYN physician and an energy healer. I've also done lots of personal and spiritual growth because I love to challenge myself and I love to grow and be more and more who I am. And yeah. So today I'm speaking to this whole paradox of powerlessness. So let me tell you a little bit of my story. So picture this. Here I am. I'm an OBGYN physician. I'm also married. I have two kids. Things are going great. My practice is going well. I have great colleagues, enjoying myself and my work. But over time, I found myself becoming more and more unhappy. And that even despite the fact I was doing fulfilling work, despite the fact my family was good, my friends were good, my kids were good, all of that. So outwardly it looked like, hey, got it all, doing well. But I was getting, as I said, more and more unhappy. I actually developed insomnia, so I had trouble um, going to sleep at night. And I would read a lot. I would just not go to bed because it was so frustrating to lie in bed and not fall asleep. That was really tough. I was also reading a lot. So, everybody had gone to bed, I would just go and read and read and read and read fiction. Um, as I look back, it was reading addictively. So basically, what I was doing was trying to distract myself from this inner unhappiness because of a couple things. I didn't know what to do with it. What did it mean? What was it about? And because part of this unhappiness was about my work, even though I loved it, I also was unhappy with it. I was incredibly confused and I didn't know what to do about it. And all my ability to logic my way and think through things um, didn't work. So I was really in a not in a good place. And multiple things happened over the years. Um, And over time, what I was gradually able to do was to begin to give myself permission to listen to myself. Because the real issue, or one of the real issues that was going on, is I didn't know how to listen to myself. I was going outward and I was using logic to solve issues. And there are issues of what's going on inside that's really not amenable to logic. What needs to happen is sitting with. So, what I was stuck in is what I now know is the paradox of powerlessness that many of us successful and succeeding women are in. Because what's going on? Here we are, we're successful, we're succeeding, we have all these opportunities. I mean, never in the history of civilization have people, especially women, had the opportunities to go in all sorts of professions, whether it, doctor, lawyer, teacher, CEO, CFO, professional, be an amazing stay at home mom and homeschool your kids. I mean, many, many things we can do. We can do pretty much anything we want to do. Opportunity everywhere. And yet, so many of us are feeling unfulfilled and we're unhappy. I mean, the rates of, and this is even before COVID started, the rates of women on antidepressants taking medications for depression has been rising and is now, at least a year ago before COVID started, had gone up to about 20%. That's a huge number. And how many people, your friends, yourself, when you sit down and talk, are dealing with um, loneliness, just a life dissatisfaction, dysphoria, what you call being blue. How many of us are having problems with how we feel about our body? I would say probably almost everybody I speak with, and that includes me. We have things about our body we just don't like. So, this whole thing there. So, what's going on? What is going on? Why this paradox of powerlessness? So much opportunity, and yet we're not getting fulfilled. So let me set a little bit of context to answer this question. What is it and why do we have it? So the why is coming to, if you consider in the last 100 years, the change in the context of our lives as women. Up to about 170 years ago, our main focus as women was on survival. We needed to ourselves survive. We needed to get food and shelter and clothing for our families and our children to survive and our spouse to survive. We were really focused on survival. And then over the early part of the 20th century, and then especially after World War II, women began to get out more and more into the workforce. And we found our main focus became accomplishment because we were beginning to get into the fields that were traditionally male. We were getting out of teaching and nursing and homemaking and being able to do some of these doctor, lawyer, professional climbing, the corporate ladders and things like that, which was great. Looking back, however, the only way we knew how to do that was to do it the way the men were doing it, which what I now would say is called the masculine power structure. Masculine power structure is logical, linear, step by step. So, for instance, when I decided I wanted to go to medical school and become a doctor, there was a pretty logical, linear, step by step approach I needed to take. I needed to figure out a major in college that would support it. I needed to take the classes that would support it, get the grades that would do it, take the MCATs, apply to various medical schools, do the applications, blah, 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 to get into medical school and move through that. So it was very logical and linear, very set approach. If you've been in corporate, another example would be if we had to do some strategy, some strategic work on increasing sales. Then you would sit down with your group and figure out what's the issue, what's the strategy. So this is a masculine approach, power system approach. Works very well for accomplishment, for things that require logical, linear, step-by-step approach. Um, be aware, though, the masculine power structure is hierarchical, and it's often externally imposed kinds of things is what's really going on there. Okay, so where are we now as women? We move from survival to accomplishment. And now, particularly the last 20 years, we're really making the shift to what? Fulfillment. We're more and more desiring jobs that are fulfilling in some ways and make a contribution. We desire relationships that have mutual growth in them, whether they're with our significant other, often with our friends. We're it isn't just about making money, and it just isn't just about play. We're looking for play that means something. We're looking for hobbies that are, again, have meaning to them. Where does meaning come from? Well, it comes from inside because I am the one that assigns meaning. So the system that I'm going to use jobs for an example right here. The system we've been using with our jobs and our careers, the masculine power system, it's logical, linear, and externally. It does not speak to meaning. It does not speak to bringing up what is and out what is coming up from inside me. So what we have is what brings me to my meaning, to saying, what do I desire to accomplish in my life? This is the feminine power system. The feminine power system. So what has left us in this whole paradox of powerlessness? We have opportunity, but we can't get to fulfillment, is overutilization of this masculine power system, because that's the one we know best, and it works very well for many things. an underutilization of the feminine power system. We're not using the feminine power system because that is what helps us to find meaning. What, if you remember from your sociology classes, Maslow's hierarchy, we're up in the area of self actualization, of maximizing our potentials. That is what meaning making, meaning in our lives, our work, our friendships, our partners, our play, our vacations, having this meaning. Now, the other thing I do want to point out is that this does not mean we leave the masculine power system behind, because there is great usefulness to strategy. It is just needs to be paired with the feminine power system to really bring out what we desire, what we bring out. So that's about the paradox of powerlessness, what it is, why it's impacting us. And I'd be curious hearing about this. How many of you feel like you maybe have some resonance with this, where you're seeing this opportunity, but you're not able to manifest it into what you really want? It's that gap. The I desire to have X, Y, or Z. I desire to have, to start a business where I am helping women, lose 30 pounds in 90 days, things like that. Because I desire to contribute to their happiness in their life. And this is how I can contribute. And yet, it's the manifesting that out is where this gap is. There's this gap. And that's because we haven't learned how to really bring the feminine power system overtly into our lives, consciously and intentionally, and use it in a way that we can bring together the masculine and the feminine power system in service to your longings, your desires, so you can make the contribution to yourself and to the world you are most desiring to make. So I would love you to drop an emoji or drop a comment. Do you feel this gap? Are you noticing this, or have you noticed it in your lives? Because I think this is really juicy, because we can't take the steps to solve an issue if we haven't clearly defined the situation we're in. I knew that in medicine, and I bring that to what I do now. And that's partly this whole reason behind the creation of my program, which the Embody Your More immersion, because so many of us desire to have more, contribute more in our lives, and yet we're not there. There's this gap. And that's what I work with. So, any of you who are curious and would like to have a call with me so we can do some exploring about what is the gap between you and your biggest vision for yourself, really get a sense of what's going on. Make sure you're clearly speaking to what your vision is, and then seeing, how this program is a fit or not a fit, or the resources I have that can support you. Because we're all in this together. As we lift each other up, we all rise. Blessings, everyone. Have a great holiday week wherever you are, whether you're watching this live or on the replay. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of this group. I so appreciate you. Be well, everyone.